Thank you. Hello. That was a fascinating debate. I caught the first part when I was sitting back and missed the second half. Was there a clear winner? No? That's what happened to debates. So I'm going to switch to a more boring topic, unfortunately, about leadership and strategy in this age of digital complexity. We certainly noticed that there haven't been a time in recent memory where there was more pressure on leadership teams to come up with new approaches to corporate strategy. Why that's the case? Because we live in this age of rapid change where there's increasing volatility socially, economically, of course, and politically, probably due to the polls. And still, most of the corporate strategy we work on today is based on this implicit acceptance of this work done by this man 100 years ago, Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. And we now know that there's a couple of things that Adam Smith got wrong fundamentally, and one of them is that human beings make rational decisions in their own self-interest in the marketplace. And it turned out, we now know from behavior economics that people make irrational decisions all the time because of the sunken cost fallacy, confirmation bias, loss aversion, all the other cognitive biases we now know today. Probably in the polls, most of the time, people make irrational decisions. And then the second thing that is problematic is this to do with the invisible hand. It only works to a certain extent. Now, we're still living the pain of the 2008, 2009 global financial crisis, and then that's exactly the kind of decisions people make in their own self-interest when rolled up together at macro level is becoming catastrophic and problematic. So it's worth to note that the 2008 and 2009 global financial crisis is just one instant in the short history we're seeing. In the 2 decades leading up to that moment, there were more economic crises than we've seen before. We certainly also, at the same time, observing a faster pace of change in technology than we've ever seen before. It's not just the internet, TV, mobile phones anymore. Now you have the smart TV, smartphone, smartwatch. It seems like we can't catch up with the smart gadgets we have today. And then you have also the Facebook, the Uber, Airbnb, all the shared economy. Here's just a few examples to probably tell something that you already know or might not know. There's now drones delivering medical supplies to hospitals in real time. And you have drones deliver pizza in remote areas. Sometimes the drones don't fly. They just ride on the sidewalk and deliver food to your doorstep. And you have the self-driving cars where the entire automobile industry are being disrupted as we see it. And there's self-driving trucks on the road already. There's a good case to be built that maybe 2-3 years from now, we're going to see real fleets backed by commercial fleets backed by self-driving cars. The robotic-assisted surgery is becoming more precise and less intrusive. And then you have this technology called brain-computer interface, where allow your brain to communicate directly with a computer. Elon Musk just launched a new startup focusing on this technology. There's also a lot other real prototypes that have been built that leverage this to allow you, for example, to control robotic arms, other devices remotely. And the voice interface, natural language processing, there's other stages here. I noticed that talk about machine learning, deep learning, that's powering the voice interface, and plus other things we use on a daily basis. And then there's 3D printing. Now you can print clothes at home, I was told, and then dinner sometime. And occasionally you have these little creatures augmenting our reality from time to time. So all these things are merging together to the point that a lot of people notice or recognize that there's a pattern, there's a paradigm shift we're observing. This is a term called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, coined by Professor Schwab, who is the founder of World Economic Forum, has been one of the key themes in the last 2 years at the Winter Davos. And then he articulated that in his book with the same title, that there's no longer a question that the early 21st century is seeing a set of economic changes of historical importance, mostly driven by the ubiquitous mobile internet, sensors that are becoming more powerful, consume less energy and a lot cheaper, and artificial intelligence and machine learning. But we've been through similar technology changes before, and then business were able to adapt and then evolve. So what's special about this new round of change we're seeing right now? A key difference is speed. This round of technology change, the so-called fourth industrial revolution, is happening a lot faster than before, and it's not slowing down. Most of our human history is of linear and incremental change. We ourselves are mostly products of this linear business, engaging linear business growth. But technology is not linear, it's exponential. So what does exponential growth look like? This is the first computer with an external hard drive. It weighs about a ton, and it only stores about 5 megabytes of data. And fast forward to today, you got 512 gigabytes of storage on the fingertip, and costs only about $200. There's similar patterns. That's just one example of the storage cost performance improvement we've seen in the last 20 years. And there's also the bandwidth cost performance going with a similar pattern. Computing power, thanks to cloud computing, very similar trend. And you can argue that, yes, the Moore's law will stop at some point. All these changes, which is today on the S-curve, will plateau at some point. But there's no sign of reaching to that point yet. What if this trend continues for another 5, 10 years? What does it mean to the tech industry, to business in general? In about 2000, it probably cost about $5 million to launch a startup. Today, probably just $5,000. If this trend continues for another 10 years, it might only cost about $25 to launch a startup, $50 to launch a startup. What does it mean to the entrepreneurs? They're probably not all just will be based in Silicon Valley. You're going to see a lot more of them in developing markets, in India and China and Brazil. The ability to start something new is going to be a lot higher than today. The entry barrier is going to be a lot lower. What does it mean for enterprises? And then the biggest gap, and also the opportunity at the same time, biggest challenge, also opportunity, is this gap between the exponential growth of market opportunity and then their ability to capture this and grow, which is the linear fashion today. We believe we're in this new age of strategy. We call it the age of experimentation. So the so-called sustainable competitive advantage is no longer viable. Today, we're going to see more transient advantage, where opportunity appear and you exploit fast, and then they go away really fast. You have to go up and go and again trying to explore the next opportunity. The secret sauce to survive and adapt in this new age of experimentation, to come up with new strategies all the time, is to increase the speed and reduce the cost of experimentation. In the digital world, we have a few ideas to throw out for people to consider. And then I'm going to mention 4 of them here. First one is unleash your technologist. So when we talk about cloud computing, for example, we often talk about the cost benefit of cloud computing. But the real advantage we see, the impact of cloud computing, is the freedom and flexibility it brings to technologies. Allow them to create new computing runtimes at real time, on demand, so that they can experiment a lot faster. And cloud computing is just one component to take away the friction from development team. There's all the other tools and processes available, DevOps, for example, and to allow container technology, allow technologists to spend a lot more time focused on writing code, developing software, and then test their ideas faster than trying to wrangle with the infrastructure all the time. And the second trick to unleash the technologies is expose the digital assets in the organizations. Most of the data functionalities today are trapped in either legacy systems or in just purely departmental boundaries, organizational boundaries inside the organization. There's a lot of fear, not just infrastructure, to expose them internally to all the technologies. we'll all be surprised at how much creativity and innovation technology can drive once they have the power at their fingertip to experiment. The second idea is to involve the customers. We're all in this business of creating value for our customers, but as we continue to focus internally on our own ideas, our products, we tend to lose sight of that and falling up with our own vision. But we all know that customers are difficult, they're messy, their expectations often inflated and ever-changing, and they make irrational decisions all the time. So we can't simply assume we know what they want, and then we know what we can design for them. So the traditional approach of the focus group or marketing research is no longer sufficient in this new digital world. The best way to do that is to work with the customers, with the consumers together to develop the products with them, to get out of the office and sit where they show up. And the good news is that the modern technology allow you to develop your products iteratively and release them early and frequently so that you can test it with the consumers and develop the product with them together. Which leads us to the third idea, that is release early and update frequently. So as mentioned earlier, with DevOps, continuous delivery, there's a lot of tools and technologies now available to allow you to release software early and release it frequently, continuously to a production environment, get real people to use it. A lot of this, unfortunately, the resistance to do that is from the internal organizations. It's mainly driven by this resistance to release anything that's not perfect to the market. What if the customers don't like it? What if they provide bad feedback on Facebook and Twitter? What if it's going to have a negative impact to the brand? That said, this is my favorite quote from Ray Hoffman, co-founder at LinkedIn. If you're not embarrassed by the first release of your product, you probably release it too late. Now, hopefully, we can all take some comfort from this list of best global brands in 2016, where if you look at Google, Facebook, Amazon, many of the excellent brands were known for releasing frequently and releasing early, even though that means they take the risk of releasing some products that's not perfect. But I think very few people stopped Googling just because Google Glasses didn't work out in the first attempt. And I heard news that they're going to try another attempt soon. So, the key point here is do a lot more, do it early, release it early, and fix it early. There's a good chance that the customers, the consumers will like it more than the other way around, and then allow us to continue to build an excellent brand with doing that. And the fourth and last idea, I was told not to touch this, and I accidentally touched it, is to kill the IT department. I know this is a conference with a lot of young entrepreneurs and startups. Probably you don't even know what is the IT department. And unfortunately, for people like me who work in these enterprises, know this all too well. And a lot of the organizations we know today, the structure we know today, is built for this age of mass production, the 20th century as we know it. And the focus is mostly around efficiency, compliance, hierarchy, and standardization. We now live in a different world with the digital complexity at our face. The focus is now more on autonomy, experimentation, and innovation, and these departmental boundaries often get in the way, especially if you want to become a tech company. It doesn't matter where you come from, what industry you work in today. Most of the companies, enterprises in the world use technology solution to some extent in the daily operation. But just by adding more features and more apps and releasing more features on websites don't make you a technology company. A tech company by default don't have an IT department. And everyone works together in a tech company to solve problems collaboratively and iteratively. Whether you're a business stakeholder, a product manager, a technologist, a designer, a marketing person, operational person, they form cross-functional teams that work together towards the same market objective or the product vision. The point of killing the IT department is to say that we should not let the department boundaries get in the way of collaboration across different silos inside the organization. Break the silos, unleash the technologists, get them work together with the business, form cross-functional team. That's the best way to facilitate innovation, creativity, and then to be able to allow teams to experiment a lot faster. So to wrap it up, just a quick recap. We're living in an age of faster technology change. And then the key to succeed in this new age of experimentation is to do experiments a lot faster with a lot less cost. And then here are just the 4 basic ideas to get us all thinking along that line. And 1 minute early. I guess I'll make the state manager very happy. All right, well, thank you.
Stairs are here.